Welcome back to Radical Abundance.
I'm your host, Pastor Jen Defoe Turner, and it is a privilege to be here.
And I'm your host, Teresa Janzen. Welcome back to Radical Abundance. I'm your host, Teresa Janzen. Today we have in the studio, we have Kirk Charlton, Amber Weigand-Buckley, and Reverend Beth Caulfield. So happy to have a really creative team from all different types of art and media and storytelling things, because today we're talking about the power of story in a little bit of a less traditional way, because a lot of times we think about story as words on a page or even spoken story, but you all create stories in different ways, and that'll come out, I hope, during our discussion. And I just want to start off by asking what stories have impacted you most, and we'll let you each answer this one. What stories have impacted your work, your faith, your life, and just share if you would, maybe Beth.
Sure. Well, of course, the greatest story ever told. That has informed, of course, my ministry, my life, and my joy and my passion, and helped me ignite it. I think that the most impactful story for me is just my spiritual heritage and my family. Growing up, I loved hearing. I had a lot of talkers in the family, a lot of storytellers, and just hearing, all about who they were, experiences in their lives, and how that was to shape me. The most impactful one probably was, as a kid, I was told that my great grandfather prayed for my salvation. Now, this is before I was ever even born. I never knew this man, but knowing this had a real impact on who I was.
Wow, that's amazing.
Well, I've been in journalism for almost 30 years. So I've shared a lot of story, and that was kind of my passion from the beginning. Is everybody has these different perspectives. Everybody has these unique experiences, but in some way they all connect us together. And just being out, I mean, I can't even begin to count how many people's stories I've written about, but they've all impacted me in some way. I don't think you can get through a really deep conversation with anyone without really shifting you, changing your perspective, or just moving you towards understanding. And moving you towards understanding is like what I love. The stories that impacted my life the most is funny, because I like to collect things in my house that have stories behind them. And I have this piano. I don't play the piano, but I have a piano in my house, and it has been through a tornado. And every time I look at that piano, I remember the story of where it came from. It was one of my colleagues had been through a tornado. Their house had been ripped like a dollhouse, and that piano stayed in place with a Bible on it, even though the keys are chipped. There's glass in it. It's there, and it stayed in tune. By the way,
Wow.
And I just, every time I see that piano, I think of God's faithfulness, and it's right there. And no matter how, I don't want to polish it, I don't want to paint it. I just want it exactly where it was, exactly how it was, and just to have a visual reminder. And I think that's why visuals are important to me as well as people's stories. But I will pass that on.
Well, thank you. I've been told that I have a good cautionary story to tell. But when I was a kid, when I was 5 years old, I drew a picture of a horse being stung by a bee, and I didn't know that I could draw or anything, but I showed it to my grandmother in New York, in upstate New York, and she stopped what she was doing in the kitchen and put everything down and took time to grab this gift that I was giving her. And she said, Kirk. this is amazing. This is wonderful. This is incredible. This is outstanding. You're an artist. And, I just never stopped drawing after that. And that's a wonderful story. And then, later on in life, as I got in a lot of trouble and had a lot of problems, I was able to make a transformation while I was incarcerated. And, thank God. And to turn my life around and kind of be okay with myself today. I'm an artist, and that's my story. So.
All right. Well, the world is filled with visual mediums of all kinds. And of course, a lot of just words too. And these stories told through various mediums really do impact culture. Why do you think that this kind of narrative, the worlds that you all work in, can impact belief and transform situations and deliver a message even more than someone who's just making their argument?
Sure, sure. Well, film is recognized as one of the greatest culture shapers of all time. I mean, people can quote lines from movies. They decide to wear what they wear based on what a character wore. They believe things based on what a movie said. It's a very powerful medium because it draws in people emotionally, visually. All senses can be involved now in the way film is made. And there's a whole lot of responsibility that goes with that too, which we can talk about. But to your question, which I'm forgetting now.
I'm forgetting it too.
Well, for a specific, then how does a movie impact culture more than just an argument? If I want,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
we can argue the issues, but
Right. And again, a story told through a movie gives every argument in without words, and I think that it is much easier to touch people emotionally, spiritually, as well as intellectually, through the power of story. And I say I mean that's a known thing. And I know that was why I was called into what I'm called into. I mean, it was prophesied over me, get up on a high mountain to declare the Lord, right? That's from Isaiah 49. And the first time that was prophesied over me, I didn't know what that meant other than go to the pulpit. Suddenly I recognized there's no higher mountain than the motion picture industry.
wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely is a culture shaper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. What do the rest of you think?
I think that words are words. The Bible is the Bible. Everybody can debate that as much as you want to, but no one can steal your story. No one, and there are parts of it like the visual media. You write yourself into the emotive storyline. You're seeing how people are thinking. You're seeing what drives action without words. And I love how that's why I love how words and visuals dance together in my field. And it's amazing because it's all that emotive connection. It is all that life connection, and what is an argument? It can also be it's mostly a disconnect. But if I can draw you into my life and those connected experiences, then all of a sudden it's captive. You have a captive audience, and that's what you're looking for in film. You're looking for that person to be in that story. That's why I hate watching different actors that I've loved them in one romance movie. I'm like, wait, you're supposed to be in this relationship. And it's because we write the story along with what we're seeing and along with what we're hearing, and we connect with it. And connection is kind of that's the core of humanity is connection.
Yeah. And Amber, I learned something a little bit about your field of design because I love how you talked about how the words and the visual dance together, and even down to the typography that you choose, the font.
Yeah.
The font, the color, the size, the everything, the placement then of the
Yes.
typography on the page is part of that message.
Yes. It's interesting to me because I mean, to me, writing, of course, all of this creativity is a divine connection.
Mhm.
I believe that that taps into the creator so much more. And I have a very much more appreciation for who God is when I'm creating because I'm reliant on him to pull back the picture and help me see better. And sometimes when um I it's almost hard to explain. But I do believe in Holy Spirit led design mixed with the visual and the communication of words. And it all draws people in a different way. And I might see something in my art that no one else can see about how the Holy Spirit led me to that placement. I don't have to have everybody else see that, but it means something to me.
And they feel it,
Yes.
whether they know it consciously or not.
Yes.
Those
Yeah.
design choices are felt.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, I really feel like that's a good question for me. And, you know, I created this program, Art Inside Out, initially to help people that are sort of on the margins, you know, people that are incarcerated, people that are in drug treatment and that sort of thing. But I have no material knowledge. I didn't go to college and that kind of thing. So it just seems like a lot of the argument part of it, there's a lot of programs and et cetera that have these people with this material knowledge. You know, they've studied, they know a lot more than I do about you know, just the analytics and the studies and the pie charts and all that kind of stuff. But I've learned, and I believe that that my empirical knowledge and the fact that I've been there and done that, and been through it and can understand it and can create a program that is understanding. You know, I don't use a lot of big words in my program, and so they can these folks can understand it. I think everybody's important. I think that people that have gotten into trouble they were born as this evil malefactor that's not going to amount to anything, right? It's and so I really like the the ability to stand you know, on my own 2 feet and say, hey, what I have, you know, through God that is certainly, you know, been the main part of all of this when I've made my change, and say, hey, I got something to say, and it's worked, and my art, my art is very deep. It's all over the place, and like Amber, you know, when I do art, I feel like I'm in a different level of not better than anybody, but art does so many things, and it should be the last thing removed from any school anywhere. So-
Why would you say that?
because if you follow an art project, first it's an idea, and you have this idea, and it fulfills you, and you say, wow, this is a great idea, and you know, I don't know if anybody's going to understand it or like it, but I'm going to go for it. And then all of these moments along the way, when I was incarcerated, a guy would come up and say, hey, can you do me a card for my daughter? You know, it's her birthday. And that would make me feel good. He'd feel good. She's 3. Can you do a Winnie the Pooh? And I'd say, yeah. And he feels, and then he just followed along, and then I give it to him, and he cries, and he says, wow, this is going to be great. And then he sends it to his daughter, and she's on the phone. Thank you, Daddy. And then she tells me about it. So, I mean, I could just never stop about all of the wonderful things with art and creating, and so
Yeah. Wow.
And the encouragement that people need to utilize their art gifts. And I mean, I was really touched by your story, Kirk, of what your grandmother said to you. She spoke life into you at an early age on that. That's not always everybody's stories. But that I know has obviously helped sustain you because you keep telling the story, right? You do.
exactly like
Right? That's like my great grandfather that I didn't
Yeah,
know.
right.
Yeah.
It's like it puts something in you. So, I mean, that would be a huge encouragement for anyone is if you have those gifts, if you have family with those gifts, even if you don't understand it, encourage it because it's from God.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Part of my ministry that I'm appointed to within the church is not only to make faith-based films, but to encourage churches to encourage those with those gifts and to
Yes.
support them. And that has kind of gone it's coming back in an understanding and appreciation. But for many years, people were afraid of the arts.
Yeah.
They saw a lot of the darkness that was coming out of
Yes.
art,
Mhm.
which we can't deny was there. But the reason it was there is because we weren't bringing enough light back into it, I
Yeah.
believe. And so we need to let that light happen.
I really appreciate you saying that because there is in my story, I talk about I had a 6-month manic writing spree where I could not stop hearing words in my head. I was hearing poetry, I was seeing things on signs that meant something to me. I was writing myself into the story of everything. It became like a cosmic dance with the universe type thing, but it actually, what was originally something that was really good and healing became something that was dark and became something that was very broken and drove me to a cliff and almost made me take my life. So I believe those realities dance very closely together. That's why people take drugs, so they can they feel that they're tapping into creativity. Well, what they're tapping into is spiritual
That's right.
deception, that this brings creativity. And whereas I know when my brain broke and I came out on the other side and I was still looking up, it was God who filled in those gaps.
Mm.
And it was that broken place, because I came out of the mental health ward touching the back of my head, wondering if I'd been in a car accident, because it felt like that. But in that brokenness, looking up, even though it took me 1 year to write again, all of that creativity that God pushed through that time, what could have been hijacked by letting the enemy into my I come letting the enemy into my sandbox. He wanted to dig me under while I was down there. But that was such a beautiful thing. And I don't tell a lot of people this. I was never schooled in design, ever. I never thought I could do anything. I did not know the terminology. I did not know what to do. But all of a sudden, my eyes became open to see things that I did not see before in the framework of heaven.
And go ahead.
I love it when conversations
yeah.
get
I
exciting.
don't
Go
wanna
for it.
In my program, Art Inside Out, we teach these in the Department of Corrections. And one thing in my art classes, when I was teaching them, what do guys draw that are incarcerated? They draw dark things. They draw knives and skulls and women and all this stuff. And so I have a lesson I just wanted to say real quick. And I'll ask the group to tell us a joke, a good clean joke, and everybody with tattoos on their face look at you and go, "I don't know any clean jokes. They're not funny, But eventually somebody will say a kind of a goofy dad joke or something. And everybody laughs, right? And so I use that as a way to say, hey, you don't need dark pictures and evil pictures to do good art. It doesn't have to have F-bombs and all these things in it. It can be a scenery or something. And so anyway, I just wanted to share that.
Hearing these things reminds me of such an important point that I have really just has continued to be reinforced to me over the years as I interact with artists, is they are sensitive to the spirit. And because of the impact of art that can be for God, they are always attacked. And you hear the stories of and again in my world in the film industry of heartbreaking stories of what's happened to actors and actresses and people behind the camera and so forth. We need to recognize that that's because of the power of what they do. And of course the enemy comes against that. And as we recognize that both as artists and as leaders who are trying to help artists and as the church trying to help artists, we need to, just like we say, we need to pray for our pastors, we need to pray for our artists. And that, because as this whole episode is about, the power of what they do is more than words. It's more than arguments.
And I one of the things that brought to my mind is when I was in my poetic manic stage, is I didn't care about making mistakes. In fact, I wanted people to see them. I wanted people to see the unfiltered me that had been, I think, had been trained out of me, because I went to journalism school. I had my ordained papers. I knew who I should be. I saw everybody else. I wanted to frame myself up in every Christian woman or anybody. I wanted to be that person, when in reality, I was lying to myself, and I was lying to the person God authentically created me to be, because I was taught to lie in church. I was taught to be this person on stage. And all I wanted to be is my broken self and be okay with that.
He loves you, flaws and all, right? And it's I like that, because the avant-garde are the people that determine the value of art and all of that. Look for flaws in paintings to describe the real you, and I think that's what it was all originated for. And I think that when you're creating something with your hands, tangible, or movies or literature or something, it goes hand in hand with creating a better life, and you're using the same mechanisms. It's a different thing, but so yeah.
I'm really enjoying this conversation, and I hope you are too. And if you are, drop a comment about your creative, artistic experience, for what you'd like to see or hear more of. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. And I do want to ask you each as we go, what do you think the world needs to hear or see more of with your art, with story, whatever?
Obviously more of Jesus Christ.
Mm.
You need
Yeah,
that one.
I know. Yeah.
But they need real, authentic stories, not sugar-coated, not preachy. And I say stories in every art form. Things that validate their own human experience and also encourage them to have compassion for what others are going through and to have the courage to make it through. And all of that can be achieved through a poem, through a photograph, a picture, something drawn, a book cover. I mean, I got to talk about the great book cover she did. But I mean, it just, it is all very important to have the courage to do that. And I'm just going to do a second little thing. I think part of the challenges that Christian art has is we're afraid to get outside of a box that people want to be this pretty little box. Christianity is easy, and go be on the Jesus team.
Right.
I mean, and the reality is, it's not easy, and Jesus never said it would be. And the more honest we are and human and connecting with one another through that, then the more power it has, and the more we all get set free.
It's true. One of the things that I wrote a book, Flowers Find a Way, right after I wrote this book for the sisterhood book for abundance. And one of the things I put in the first, I said, I just want people to see the real me. And I said, and you will find typos in this book. You will find mistakes. You will find things out of order. And that's okay. And that's okay. I want people to be okay with realizing things are okay if they're out of order, if they have typos, if they have things that are not quite, if they have things that are not quite the marketing plan. Don't try to be the next Beth Moore. Don't try to be the next Da Vinci. Don't try to be the thing that sells. Be the thing that you are, that God uniquely created you to be. And your people will find you. You don't have to be anything else but God's unique creation. I don't have to be anything but God's unique Amber. Just like any of you don't have to. I don't want to fit the marketing plan. I want to be the unmarketable God marketing. I want to fall on that.
Wow.
Yeah, I just want to remind people that, the definition of an artist, sure, there's the four major arts. There's visual, what I do, and literature and music and theater.
Yeah.
But also in the definition, it always includes somebody that's really just a little bit exceptional at something. So you could be, you're all artists, and so when I teach art, it amazes me how people demand a masterpiece in their very first try, and I always tell them to get out of that area of perfection and get in the area of sufficiency, and that means you are enough. And isn't that how life is? We want to be that way too. So
Yeah.
I think it's really funny when I hear somebody say, I'm not a creative person.
All right. I know.
Because there is creativity in different ways. There's linear creativity, there is all over scattered creativity, there's creativity that can't put a laundry pile in the drawer of your house. And so that's the thing, is like, don't feel just because you're a linear person or that you felt like you're not creative all your life, you're organizational. There can be organizational creativity too.
Yeah.
And
right brain, left brain,
right brain,
combination.
I believe in the collaboration of both of the brains. Paints don't stay in one place, neither do wires. So yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we know that we're all image bearers of God. And the very first thing that we have of recorded history of what God did was create, right?
That's right.
And I often, the many, many names of God, and I really enjoy Creator God.
Yes.
And we all do reflect that. I don't do what any of you do, but I do what God has
you're
called
an
me to
artist.
do.
Yes. Yes.
And that's the other thing is as our own artistic selves evolve and there are seasons within it. I mean, I can look at my background. So I came out of corporate America, right? I was a business person, Fortune 50 companies. I didn't call myself an artist at that time. Then I was a stay-at-home mom, right? Telling little kids stories. I didn't call myself an artist at that time. Then I went behind the pulpit and as a pastor, and I didn't call myself an artist. Then God called me into telling the stories of all that, and I recognized that He was developing me as a storyteller through all of those experiences and developing creative gifts that I never, I would say I'm not the artist, There's still a lot of things that it would be amazing if He ever made me a singer.
Yeah.
That would really be a miracle, and
But now AI can make you a
but now AI can make me a singer. That's great. But again, the point being, I think as you were saying, Amber, there's a little artist in all of us, and you don't know the story that God is shaping through the little things that you're doing, even when it's making a pretty lunch for your 5-year-old.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's
so good.
wonderful. Well, tell us your story, and how are you telling your story? Love to hear. Thank you for joining us on Radical Abundance.